Well, we did it. We survived the heat wave. It was about 110 degrees, 112 degrees with humidity. And we didn't have to shut down. We didn't have to, well, we had to do a lot of modifications. So we'll start off with what we had to do around back. So here's the exhaust of the shed. And what we needed to do was, probably didn't need to do it, but I wanted to do it, is we taped open the flaps. Whew, the heat coming out, boys. Hot damn. We taped open the flaps. So you can see here that it's basically taped up to the max. Before it was, the fans were running at about 70%, and so the flaps would be down to here, just based by the pressure of the air that's blowing, right? And they're designed to come down when it's off, but in this area, we don't really need to have them come down because it's just shooting straight out and there's no rain coming down on them. So I wanted to have the least amount of restriction on the fans pumping air out. So we just taped these up, all 6 of them, we taped them up straight, and then that way that the fans don't have to be pushing any back pressure against here. Another thing we realized was the exhaust was coming out, hitting this wall, and then getting sucked back up into this area of the soffits. So you can see all the soffits here have little holes, and that's where we're getting our negative pressure. We're getting all of our negative pressure coming through these little holes. But we don't want the holes here to be getting sucked all of this exhausting heat. So we ended up taping off the side here till basically the point where I couldn't feel the heat coming from the fans anymore. I maybe could have gone a little bit further, but I still want to use that soffits for the intake, the negative pressure, so that we get some air coming through the vents up at the top. Now, moving inside the shed. Sweet. All right, we're back in the shed. So there was a lot of things that we had to do in the shed to get it to basically equalize as its own ecosystem. And I guess one of the things is we'll start here with the window. So we put back the window, which was there previously, instead of all those gable vents. So before you saw there was 3 big gable vents. Actually, it's right here. Ooh. So we removed that because we didn't want the humidity to be coming into the shed. So what we did was we replaced it with the original window, which is great. The idea was that we were going to shut this completely. And the problem with that, which I didn't foresee, was that as soon as you shut that, the air in here is just completely stagnant. Now, I thought originally that the AC unit would be able to basically overcome the stagnant hot air and just cool down this area that it's trying to cool down. But that wasn't the case. It will blow straight up, but then the air would kind of just dissipate and just like heat up by itself. And there would be no air coming onto the system. So what we had to do to mitigate that was we ended up buying two fans, swiveling fans, that are taking the cold air. So there's one down there and there's one up here. And it ends up taking the cold air from the AC unit that's getting blown from here up, and then it moves the air across the unit. So there's a nice cycle of cold air coming in from the AC unit. The other thing that we ended up having to do was, if you take a look at this AC unit, we had to move the exhaust. So originally the exhaust was shooting right through here, and it's so powerful and so hot that it was shooting this door out. So we ended up having to brace the door here with screws and tape so that it's not breaching out here, because all the heat was bellowing out through the cracks, because we were shooting the air directly into the back of this piece here. So we removed that and we made it at a very good angle so that it's basically at a 90-degree angle, shooting straight out into the exhaust fans that you just saw. So this is actually at like a 90 degrees right here, and it's just shooting straight into the exhaust fans. So that really helped optimize the airflow of this. It's going straight out. It's not lingering around. Originally it was getting blown to the back, and then eventually it would get taken up by those fans. Now it's just going. It has nowhere else to go. So that exhaust is really good. The other thing that we had to do with this AC unit was originally it was on that circuit up here. So this is a 15 amp circuit, and it blew the trip. So all of my networking was on that circuit, and all the fans were on that circuit. And I had to get my neighbor to come and flip the breaker that it had blown. So we since moved it to its own circuit. The AC unit is on its own circuit now. It comes up, runs across, and over here above, so that when I work, I'm not worried about tripping on it. And it's tied down here and goes into its own circuit up here. It's running about 1200 watts for the entire unit. So that's not bad. 1200 watts to cool all of this is absolutely fine. And I had accounted for that in my wattage calculations of how much I can use on this 100 amp breaker. So the next thing we wanted to do was we wanted to mitigate the humidity, because in Ottawa it's really humid. And so I bought this dehumidifier thinking that it would be able to take all of the hot air from the top, and then I would be able to just replace this water can once a day, and I would be able to suck all the humidity out. That thing sucks. That sucks. So that's not in use. So what we ended up doing actually, and this worked out fantastic, is this dual works as a dehumidifier and an AC unit. So it's pumping out cold air here. Like really, it's not as cold as if it was just doing the AC, but it's cold enough air. And it is, you can see down here, it is just pounding out the water from the air. You see how much water is in here? This is a big cooler. It is literally, so I've already had to remove, basically empty this once, and it hasn't even been 24 hours. So that's how humid it is here. When I say it's humid in Ottawa, it adds like 12 degrees to the actual temperature. So you can go under shade or whatever, it's still exhaustingly hot. So anyway, so this is working like a clockwork now. So we're not tripping breakers. We have a new circuit, and we're dehumidifying finally, which we weren't able to do with this small one here. And we're air conditioning the area from this pumping out the hot air. And we're blowing that cold air back into the room for circulating the air both on the bottom and the top. In order to get these fans over in this location, I need to have power on this side of the shed. I didn't have any power on this side of the shed, but what I did have was an extra circuit that I already had in there, an extra empty circuit, and I already had it drawn out. So the empty circuit was actually over in that corner over there. So I just brought the cabling out, drew it all up, all across, drilled some holes so that's going through the wood and it's not hanging off of anything. So if I was to move stuff back there, I can't possibly hit the wire. And then dressed it right behind this workbench here. So we got a brand new circuit here just for these two fans, and if I need to charge a battery or do anything on the workbench here, I got power on this side of the shed, which is awesome. So I'm really happy with that. And yes, these two fans are sitting here. I had to reconfigure this position, but it was needed because the air in here was just too stagnant. I needed to move the cold air around. I'm having all sorts of problems with the camera today. Anyways, so the next thing we had to do was, I noticed when it was 112 degrees in here, I didn't have any cooling in this cabinet. So this is the cabinet that runs my entire room. So we've got the monitor here, we've got the Intel NUC. So that NUC computer is where the clients log in. They have their own account, their own VPN, they log in, and they're able to access their servers, their IPs and their servers. So that's in here. We've got the two Infinity controllers that are controlling the 6 infinity exhaust fans that you guys just saw, monitor, and then the 52 port switch. And before, when like 2 days ago, when I put my hand on here, it was hot to the touch, like so hot to like, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's gonna burn up. So I decided to put the 2 USB active fans here, USB powered active fans. So they both get strung up, over, across, down, and they're getting powered by that Intel NUC there. And this is way cooler. It's insane, the difference. I'm surprised that it actually survived my neglect of it just being passively cooled in there. But now that we have these 2 active fans that are shooting basically directly on it and exhausting out the top, it doesn't, I can't tell that's even on. So that's awesome that that is done and actively cooled by everything here. We've got the AC unit pumping the cold air and the fans pushing that cold air across all the units and getting sucked into that network switch area as well. So besides that, everything worked out perfect. I'm really, really happy with how it went. That was a heck of a heat wave. 112 degrees I think we got to with the Humidex, and you can tell, like, look at the water just pouring down this thing. Like all of that water is just getting sucked out of the air. That's how humid it is in here. Well, that's how humid it is in Ottawa. It's just insane. So, yep. So the design works. Hopefully we don't have any 50-degree weather, because if we hit 50 degrees, then I might have to shut down some things. I think a lot of people will have to shut down if they hit 50 degrees. That is hot. But for now, we survived the heat dome. We survived everything. Nothing was shut off. Everything was up and running while I was working and fixing these little things here and there just to make sure it's all stable. And yeah, so really happy with the turnout, and we survived it. So fuck them haters, and thank you for watching. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.